Sounds familiar, huh? Welcome to Elizabethtown Church of the Brethren, where we are always striving to practice peace, service, and openness to all, and in particular, practicing a warm welcome back to you, Josh. We missed you while you were away. It's good to see you back.
Thank you. It's great to be back. Great to be with everybody. Yes. Sabbath rest was a wonderful time. Good. I'm all rested and rejuvenated and raring to go.
All right.
So, lots of cool stuff on the horizon. A couple announcements. Choirs begin this week, so we'll be having Chancel Choir, which is 7 to 8 on Wednesday evenings, open to anyone, all ages, all experience levels. Anyone interested in Chancel Choir is welcome to join us. We also will be starting children's choirs this week. That's children ages kindergarten through 5th grade. They're going to be Wednesday evenings at 6 o'clock. A little bit of a change for our youth choir, just to accommodate some folks. We're going to be having our youth choir practices also on Wednesday evenings from 6:30 to 7, so that's junior and senior high. If you have any questions on any music stuff, just let me know.
And a lot of that's in the bulletin too, correct?
I hope so, yep,
All right.
Absolutely.
Good.
We got
you have a bunch of announcements.
Yeah, we have a lot of announcements this morning. So I would just encourage you to take some time to look through this. Preferably not during the sermon, but if you have to, it's understandable, I suppose. There is a special event happening for Brethren Buddies today. The kickoff event is at 4:30. That'll be happening here, hopefully outside. The weather looks like it'll be all right. This afternoon at 4:30 for our Brethren Buddies. And then next week for junior high, there will be an activity right after church. And then for senior high in the evening, we'll be getting together at the Hershey's house for dinner. That dinner will be at 6 p.m., but if you want to help cook, you can show up at 4:30.
That's Meg and Dave Hershey,
That's correct. There are a bunch
All
of
right.
Hershey's. Yes, that's true.
All right, another announcement. If you have just started attending here and you'd like to know more about the congregation, if you'd like to come and share a meal with the pastors right after worship, that is next Sunday down in room 101. Just an opportunity to eat together and give you a chance to ask any questions that you might have. Give us a chance to get to know you a little bit. We'd love to have you share in that meal with us. Speaking of the pastors, I was so excited to welcome Josh back. I didn't introduce us. I'm Pastor Greg. This is Pastor Jason. Pastor Josh is back from a Sabbath rest, and Pastor Pam is enjoying some vacation this week. She'll be back with us next week in worship. So, what else do we have?
Well, it's a special day. We are recognizing our teachers and helpers. You can see inside of your bulletin, I really encourage you to take a look at this list of names. And I know that sometimes people don't like to do this, but I'd like to acknowledge, maybe embarrass our teachers and helpers a little bit. If you don't mind standing real quickly, if your name is on this sheet as one of our teachers or helpers, if you could stand up, it would be nice for the congregation to acknowledge you. We have a lot of teachers and helpers that are helping even at this moment down in the nursery or in the pre-K room. But our teachers and helpers, some people are being shy. Do you mind standing up? If you all do it at once, it won't be so... There we go. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Our teachers and helpers are the lifeblood of our Christian Ed program, and as you can see, there are just so many that are on here. We just want to make sure that our congregation recognizes the participation of the body to make sure that what we're doing each and every Sunday takes place because of you and because of your help. That being said, if you are interested in wanting to help with Christian Ed in any way, shape, or form, there's probably a spot for you, and we'd love to be able to plug you in to worship. So we wanted to say thank you on this morning to our teachers and helpers who help out all year long. At this time, we are excited to start worship. I am excited to help think about what the worship theme will be for this morning. And we're talking about family matters. We've been talking about that for last week. We're going to continue talking about it into the future. And this morning, I have the opportunity to share on the unique experience that Ashley and I have had as becoming new parents. And so this morning, we're going to take a chance to think about miracles, think about gratitude, and think about hopefulness for the future. So please join us in worship as we begin.
That was a very clear answer.
We enter into worship today, full of hope, gratitude, and the miracle of life.
For the miracle of abundant love and life, we give thanks.
We enter into the presence of love,
Who calls us into community,
who calls us God's people,
to worship,
to sing,
to pray,
to reflect,
and
to imagine together,
how God can use us
to spread love,
to share gratitude,
to share hope. Please join me in prayer. Creator God, you are the source of all that is good. Every good and perfect gift comes from you. Renew our hearts this morning as we gather here together. We are united by our desire to follow you. In this sacred time and space, help us feel connected to you, to one another. In a world where it is far too easy to feel disconnected, help us lean on each other. Fill us with the love of family. Sustain us with the joy of community. Gather us in, one and all. In the name of Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
You were the Word at the beginning, one with God the
We'd invite the children to come on down. Hey, bud. Come here, buddy. Can I sit on the...
My mic's on now. Sorry about that. Good morning, everyone. Come on up. It's so nice to see so many friendly faces this morning. So today we brought some show and tell. This is Oliver. He's about 3.5 months old. He's a pretty good baby. So say hi. So we thought, since we're talking about families and stuff at church, and we're a new family, we thought, let's use Oliver in our children's story because he's really cute. So this morning, I wanted to tell you about a time a couple weeks ago when I got to visit the church I attended from when I was born to when I was 10 years old, so like some of your age. I loved this church that I grew up in. This was the church where I first learned about who Jesus was, and I started to learn what it meant to follow him. So when I visited here a couple weeks ago with my mom and dad, I took Oliver, you can see him right there, kind of. All the hallways and rooms in that church brought back a ton of memories for me, like the Christmas play that I was in, and the songs we would practice in the basement, the Easter egg hunts, and the piano recitals, and even all the games of capture the flag that we would play outside in the yard when all the parents were inside doing the boring stuff. I loved that. So I got to thinking how special all of that was to me, and how much I hoped Oliver would have just as meaningful a foundation as I did at that church. And you know what? This is Oliver's church. It's his first one, and hopefully for a while. So one thing about those years I remember was that I looked up to all the older kids, right? And Oliver will probably watch and admire all of you guys too. You see him. So by the time Oliver is your age, some of you are going to be like really old, like high school maybe, or even older. So this morning, does anyone have any advice for Oliver maybe about what to do to make church special for him? Anybody? Well, you can think about it, and if you ever think of something good, you let him know as he grows up, okay? And like we said, we're a new family, which means we're first-time parents, which means we've never been parents before. So, does anyone have any advice for us on, like,
What do you guys
maybe
think?
how we can be a good mom and dad to Oliver?
What do you think? What are some things we can do for Oliver?
Somebody's got to have something, right?
Will make us good parents. Anyone have any ideas? Thoughts? Nothing? Come on, guys, we're struggling here. Look at this baby. We don't know what to do with it.
Did you put that McDonald's picture up?
No, that's later.
Our first family meal was McDonald's. Is that
So-
good advice? You give Oliver lots of McDonald's? Okay.
Any suggestions for this little guy? We might be in trouble. Yeah. Give him toys? That's good. We should probably give him
Yeah. What are your favorite toys for
That's good.
playing? Legos.
Legos. Okay, we'll give him some Legos. That's a good call.
Definitely on the list.
Good idea.
What do you think, Kaylin?
The baby maybe choked the Legos, so
Oh yeah, maybe
So
not
don't
yet.
gi-
Maybe wait for the Legos. He's
Babies
a little
can
too
choke
young.
on Legos, so don't
probably
give him
a good
Legos
point.
too soon.
Did you write
Go
that
ahead.
down?
Oh, write it. Start with the big kind of Legos.
Big
Good.
Legos.
as he gets older, then he can go to
That's
Okay.
good. Any more advice, guys?
Any other
For
suggestions?
Oliver or for us?
What do you think, bud? Is that helpful?
All right. Well, this morning, we're going to keep talking about why family matters and how families can make us appreciate things like the past, like I got to share with you. And Jason is going to share some things about being grateful for the present and hopeful for the future. So, thanks so much for sharing with us this morning.
You guys can head on back. Morning, as we think about Oliver and we think about his future in this church, we're reminded of all the wonderful people in this congregation and the contributions that people make. Look at your church out there, buddy. Yeah. And we always think about what this church is going to be like in the future. And it's always helpful to remember that the gifts that we give today are the seeds for the future to help build this place and create a place for, kids like Oliver and some other babies out there, that this is their church. And we're just thankful to be a part of this congregation. So as we give today, remember that you're giving to the ministries of today, but you're also giving to the ministries of tomorrow. It's a good idea, right? Yeah. Here you go. There we go. See you, bud. Let's go for that. That's right.
There's a world at war, caught in suffering, silent casualties. Oh, God, grant us peace in these sleepless nights. I can hardly breathe despite brutality. I know that we'll be free. I know that we'll be free. Let the light keep us shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see. We'll all be free. In these desperate times, love will hold us here. Love will join our hands, teach us to have no fear. So we lay our head down to wash their feet. When we see our brother, oh, we'll all be free. I know we'll all be free. Let the light keep us shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see. We'll all be free. Let the light keep us shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see. We'll all be free. We'll all be free.
We'll be free, free, we'll all be free. We'll be free, free, we'll all be free. We'll be free,
Free. We'll all be free. Yeah, we are free, free. Yeah, we'll all be free. Oh, we are free. Free. We'll all be free. We are free.
free,
Free. Yeah, we'll all be free.
let
The light
keep it
shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see. We'll all be free. Let the light keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see. We'll all be free. Yeah, we'll all be free.
Now's an opportunity for us to share our blessings in our lives and our burdens. If you have anything that you would like to share, I invite you to come forward or raise your hand, and I'd be glad to bring the microphone to you if that's easier. Balcony, you have a microphone up there as well. To start, I'd like to share prayers for Veda Clemens. Veda had a fall at home last week, and she bumped her head. She's currently at LGH, but she's awaiting tests, doing tests, and she's hoping that she will be home tomorrow. So for Veda and for Jean and the rest of the family, we pray for
right. As we continue our Family Matters series, I thought that it would make sense for me to reflect a little on the experience that Ashley and I have had this year as we became first-time parents. It's been an incredible journey with no shortage of unique experiences, emotions, and support along the way. As any expected parents might know, there's no lack of questions and sage advice that comes from others at the anticipation of a child. Are you excited? Having a child is going to change everything for you. Get your sleep now while you can. Take it all in because it just goes so fast. All the advice has been offered in a spirit of support and excitement, but I can recognize and appreciate that almost everyone's experience and circumstances will be different. It is on that note that I offer a word of caution. I can only speak truly about what life has been like for Ashley, Oliver, and I. I know that everyone's situation is different, and I'm also keenly aware of the fact that becoming new parents or having children is not necessarily an available option or even a desire for all people. I know of friends who struggle with seeing every new pregnancy or birth announcement on social media from their own friends. So, it is with some reservation that I humbly embrace this opportunity to be a proud papa this morning. I'm taking full advantage of that opportunity to inundate everyone with cute baby pictures as I reflect on 3 topics this morning of our experience becoming parents: miracles, gratitude, and hope. Miracles. There was no shortage of awe for me personally throughout Ashley's pregnancy and delivery. Almost every day, I found myself thinking about the new life that was forming inside of the person that I love. It is incredibly miraculous when one takes the time to think about it. I have always had an intellectual appreciation and awareness of reproduction, how it worked, the generalities of what was happening. I had seen pictures and animations of a developing fetus. But knowing that this would be our child and that we would meet this little human at some point was mind-blowing for me to comprehend. Sometimes we would hear descriptions, this week your baby is now the size of, and it's always like a fruit or a vegetable. But Ashley had this really cool app that would send us alerts with more unique descriptions like, this week your baby is the size of a Jenga block or a troll doll, or a Nintendo controller, or ukulele. It was a fun way for us to think about our growing baby. And this is the point where I admit that for me, pregnancy was relatively easy. Well, I would like to think I was a pretty good companion and helper. I think it is fair to say that Ashley did most of the heavy lifting. It was an incredible experience to know that a human was forming inside of her, and her body was forming another body. One morning, I remarked how cool it was that whatever food Ashley was eating could turn into our baby, and she looked at me concerned and said, "You mean all these toaster strudels and Pop-Tarts I've been eating?" We had a good laugh about that, but the truth is, pregnancy really is a miracle. Being born is one of those universal experiences of humanity. Every single person grew inside of a womb and was created in God's image. But despite that ubiquity, the complexity and wonder of pregnancy is still fascinating. For those that came before us, the scientific realities of reproduction may not have been fully understood, but in Scripture, we can still see the awe and amazement in this process. This comes from an often quoted verse in Psalm 139. "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well." God's works are wonderful. They are full of wonder. And one thing that this process of bringing Oliver into the world has reminded me is that there are always miracles around us. We take for granted the incredible, complex biological systems that surround us each and every day. I was fortunate enough to be right there as Oliver was born, and that experience was indescribable. I have tried to explain it by stating that while my senses were taking it in and I was aware of the experience, my mind simply could not make sense of it as it was happening. It was as if I had no reference point or conceptual framework to comprehend what was going on in front of me. It was similar to the experience that I had viewing a total solar eclipse last summer. In both cases, knowing it was real, but my mind being so baffled by what was happening. It was a new experience going against everything my brain had experienced before or expected. For those that would only define a miracle as something supernatural, outside of natural processes or laws of nature, like we see examples of walking on water or magically turning water into wine, I would challenge you to consider God being bigger than the duality of natural and supernatural, and open our eyes to the miracles that exist before us every day. When we explore the depths of an atom or of deep space, we see that the limits of natural and supernatural begin to blur. Do not take the wonders of creation for granted. Take the time to appreciate the complexity of God's creation each day. A flower that grows and blooms, the respiration of our bodies with each breath, complex ecosystems, the birth of a child. Appreciating God's miraculous creation can reveal God's love to us. The recipients of biblical miracles are not the only ones who received God's favor. We too experience the favor and the love of God within the deep complexity and miracles in creation all around us when we take the time to notice and appreciate them. Gratitude. We're fortunate. Throughout the past year, Ashley and I have been intentional in reminding one another about the value of being grateful and thankful for our circumstances. We are aware of friends and family who have had many more complications and setbacks throughout pregnancy and in the first months of life. Our situation has been one of relative stability and health with deep support from friends and family. To be completely honest, it is somewhat difficult for me to even mention much of this without feeling like I am boasting. That's not to say that having a baby has not come with its own unique challenges for us. Again, pregnancy was pretty easy for me, and Ashley did not suffer any substantial complications, but don't get me wrong, it is still certainly not easy for a woman to make another human inside of her body. We know of friends and family who have not had the same experience. Their situations were more difficult and complicated with medical complications for mother and baby. And for us, Oliver has been a real joy. I know every parent has the right to brag about their child, so you will simply have to indulge me here. We love Oliver. From the start, he has been a healthy and happy baby. He's extremely calm. He rarely cries. He's never been inconsolable. He squeals and smiles. He eats willingly. He burps well. And for all you parents out there who had baby boys, he has yet to pee on us when his diaper is off. And while Ashley is careful to remind me about how hard we have worked and intentional we have been to get Oliver onto a schedule and a routine, we are grateful that he sleeps so well at night. Now, while I would like to think that we are thoughtful and loving, caring parents, we do also recognize we are fortunate, and there are many other parents who are just like us who have had to face more challenges than we have. I think this is likely something that we can all relate to. No matter any of our situations, when we try and measure our circumstances against one another, we will likely find others that have it better and those that have it worse. It's true that there are things in our lives, in the lives of others, that we can control. There are ways that we can care for each other and help each other in times of need. Ashley and I have been extremely grateful for and humbled by the meals that have been given to us that we've received from many of you in this congregation, which were all very delicious and in some ways felt like a tour of Elizabethtown COB's best food. And we really appreciated it. In fact, Ashley mentioned this, you saved us from this. This was our first family meal together as we came home. And while there are often things that we can do to help one another, there are also no limits. There are also times when things are outside of our control. In those times, we might see others benefit, and our reaction may be envy. Other times, when we hear about hardships, our reaction may be guilt. In both cases, we can instead work hard towards a spirit of gratitude. We can celebrate the joys and successes of others without envy and remain grateful for our own circumstances as well as theirs. While we can show empathy and support for those facing hardships, we do not need to feel guilt for circumstances outside of our control. But instead, we can appreciate our own situation in a healthy way with gratitude and humility. We all have many things to be grateful for. Developing a consistent attitude of gratitude can be a real life-giving practice. Scientific studies have concluded that the expression of gratitude can have profound and positive effects on our health, our moods, and even the survival of our marriages. One simple way to practice gratitude, and something that I would challenge each and every one of us to do this week, would be to name something every day that you are thankful for about your spouse or someone in your family. Try to do that every day, one time. Identify something that you're thankful for from someone in your family. I'm reminded of the story in Luke in which Jesus heals 10 lepers, and yet only one of them comes back to thank Jesus. I would like to think that after living with a disease for so long, each and every one of those lepers was filled with joy and was likely grateful to be healed. And yet only one of them took the time to return to Jesus to say thank you. Having gratitude in our hearts is an important disposition to hold, but taking the time to share your thankfulness can be encouraging to others. Ashley and I have been deeply fortunate throughout this whole pregnancy and birth, reminding ourselves daily to be thankful, and not only is a healthy exercise, but will also help contextualize any future setbacks that we are sure to inevitably face. We know Oliver will get sick. We know that Oliver will fall down and cry at certain times. So it's helpful for us to be thankful for the times to be ready for that. Gratitude is a valuable practice when things are at their best, but also an important disposition to hold when things don't go the way that we desire. Hope. I am convinced that choosing to have a child is one of the most hopeful things that one can do. It reminds me of that age-old saying about throwing your hat over the wall. When you're faced with an obstacle and the first thing you do is throw your hat over the wall, it is a commitment to succeed, knowing that you have to go ahead and climb over the wall since you've already thrown over your hat. Deciding to have a child should be a doubling down on our commitment to the future. It is a hopeful act with a sense of obligation to make the world a better place for your child. Despite having what I think is a generally positive disposition and overall hopeful attitude about most things, I'll admit I am often troubled by the trend lines of our future together. Humanity is quickly destroying many of the world's untouched natural habitats. We continue to consume natural resources and produce incredible amounts of waste at an increasing rate. Climate change, if left unchecked, will almost certainly create disastrous consequences for us to continue to confront. We are polluting our waterways and our atmosphere, causing numerous species to go extinct far faster than is natural. Right now, we are currently in the midst of what scientists are describing as the Holocene or Anthropocene extinction, a major extinction level event, only the sixth in Earth's hundreds of millions of year history with life, the first one that we humans have been around for, and it's entirely our fault. And then there is also the geopolitical conflicts that we can worry about, wars and terrorism around the world, relentless increases in technology, drone warfare, the use of biological weapons, the weaponization of Earth orbit with a space force, nuclear weapons, and a lack of public discourse and civility. While it is true that statistically per capita, violent conflicts have only continued to decrease over time, I remain troubled that the technology we are creating can offer small groups of people who are committed the opportunity to do a lot of damage. But just when my head starts to spin thinking about all of this, all of these potential conflicts, disasters, the negativity, the fear for the future, all these things that I worry that Oliver is going to have to deal with as he gets older, I'm reminded of the message of Jesus, and it is a message of hope. It is good news about light in an increasingly dark place. It is the one candle that can never be extinguished, and there is hope when even one candle can light any dark space. For as long as there has been conflict and devastation, and there always has been, there have been those who have fought fiercely to bring light into the world, to bring Jesus into the chaos. I see many of those light bearers here in this congregation, individuals who have refused to give in to the ways of the world, refused to accept racism, bigotry, violence, and apathy. With increased global connectivity making us aware of all the injustices around the world, it often feels overwhelming and increasingly tempting to simply throw our hands in the air, giving up in defeat. The reason I am hopeful is not because of my own attitudes or abilities to contribute positively to Oliver's future. I'm hopeful because of yours. I'm hopeful because of what we are capable of doing together as individuals and as families when we strive to follow in the footsteps of Jesus. And it is hopeful to know that there are millions of others out there committed to that same thing. Some gathering in churches like ours, some pouring their lives into serving others, some working out in front, some working behind the scenes. Millions of families having children, having hope for the future, and seeking the best for them. No doubt that the future will hold challenges for Oliver and his generation, but I know there are things that we can do now, today, that will make his world a better place, just as there were things that were done by those who came before us. And they didn't always get it right, and we won't always get it right either. But I have faith that millions of families seeking to live out the love of God as revealed in Jesus is a hopeful endeavor. It sometimes moves at a frustratingly slow pace, but we cannot lose hope for our future together. We cannot throw in the towel and yield to nihilism or apathy, even if things do continue to trend in some negative ways. If we need reminders of why we should remain hopeful, just look at the babies and the children in this congregation and consider the future that we can offer to help build for them. I'll close by saying that Ashley and I have learned a lot this past year about ourselves, about each other, the joys and the challenges of bringing a life into this world. Personally, and I did make sure to check with Ashley to confirm this, I think that having Oliver has only brought us closer together and strengthened our relationship as we have had to work closely together with one another over the last few months. We know that this is only the very beginning for us as a family, but we remain hopeful for the future together as a family, grateful for the joys and challenges we will face, and eager for each and every one of you to join our family as we explore this miraculous world together with our son, Oliver.
I invite you to stand and take your hymnals. Turn to number 545. We'll be singing our closing hymn together, Be Thou My Vision. Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, naught be all else to me save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. Be thou my wisdom, be thou my true word. I ever with thee, and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, thy child may I be. Thou in me dwelling, and I one with thee. Be thou my buckler, my sword for the fight. Be thou my dignity, thou my delight. Thou my soul shelter, and thou my high tower. Praise thou me heavenward, O power of my power. Riches I heed not, nor vain empty praise. Thou my inheritance, now and always. Thou and thou only, first in my heart. High King of heaven, my treasure thou art. High King of heaven, when victory is won, may I reach heaven's joys, O bright heaven's sun. Heart of my heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, O ruler of all.
As we go in peace this morning, I encourage you to keep your eyes open to the miracles around us, to find gratitude in our families and the world that we experience, and to be hopeful for the future that we will build together. Amen.